When I studied IT back in the late 80s as part of a larger course, it was called ICT, Information Communication Technology, or CIS, Communication Information Systems. But somewhere along the way, it seems like the communication side got dropped. And so it's my hope over the next 40 minutes to put the communication back into IT. To be completely honest with you, I think we need to begin with dispelling some assumptions, or tell you what assumptions I'm bringing to the room. I've worked with clients for 24 years now who are subject matter experts in their field, like I would think all of you, and they're either current or aspiring leaders. But because they're in STEM, science, technology, engineering, accountancy, manufacturing, they have never really grown their communication skills, the tools and techniques necessary for engaging an audience. And that's why we meet and we talk and we look at what we can do to change that. And even if those skills were available at school and university, generally people in the service industry that's backstage or IT ran a mile when it was about debating or drama. I don't know if any of you can relate to that. Whereas for me, I was up there wanting to do it, put me in the limelight. I just loved it. The other assumption I'm making is that you're sitting here now because you want to learn, and you're open to the fact that even if you're comfortable with standing up in front of an audience or presenting an online meeting or doing a presentation, you know that there's something new you can learn or change, and that you're willing to shift towards that. So I would like to invite you to put as much into this as possible, because you know the more you put in, the more you'll get out. Now, to give you an idea of where I'm going to take you, I'm going to share one idea, which is the bedrock of the work that I do. We're going to do 2 exercises together, but we're all together, we're all doing them, and we're all facing forward. And I promise you they're not uncomfortable. They're things you possibly do every day. We're then going to talk about 3 principles, because a lot of you use slides. So what can you do to improve your slides, to make it more engaging for your audience, your stakeholders? I'm going to touch on AI and share some of my thinking around that. We'll then have a Q&A session, and I will end by leaving you with a challenge. Now, when I pivoted to become a speech and drama teacher at 29, there was one quotation I remembered over every other one. And it was a quotation by Sir C. that says, "Communication is like a 2-sided coin." Do any of you have a 1-sided coin in your pocket? They don't exist. And in communication, you've got the sender and you've got the receiver. Otherwise, communication doesn't take place. And I would suggest that the bit in the middle, that's your message. So about 15, 20 years ago, I had a gentleman come to me in leadership, actually from one of the London colleges that's represented here. And he was going for an interview for the next stage of leadership, and he was feeling incredibly self-conscious. And as I listened to him, I just had this idea, and I pulled out a sheet of paper and I drew stick figures and I explained something to him. And that's what I'm going to take you through today. Now, this is a little bit more sophisticated. I had it rendered by a CAD designer for my book, but it's basically the same message. Would you agree that for public speaking, which I define as speaking to 3 or more people, for public speaking to take place, you have to have a speaker, you have to have a message, and you have to have an audience. Anyone want to debate that? I'm open to it, but I think that's a fairly firm definition. Now, my client's problem was, the question I would like to ask you is, when you're asked to do a presentation, what comes first for you? They're all important, they're all essential, but where do you go first?